air traffic controlling in the night and daytime different?
The lighting failure, now you have to immediately go and light up the airfield. The person who's flying is flying one aircraft. You are controlling many more together. Get a lot of adrenaline rush. I want to rejoin. I'm low on gravy to make sure that everybody lands safely. Air traffic controlling is about aerodrome controlling as well as approach control. Gets airborne like this, does a circuit, a half circuit, and comes and lands. This IL-76 of mine was he had already called fire. Trainee, he was not visual with the runway. Went till the end of the runway and switched off. So, they're all pilots. There is a lot of airmanship. Now everybody was literally sweating. So I tell him to eject. I said, I think they have this in that we have to save our aircraft also. In the meantime, our crash fire tenders, our ambulance, all ready to just move. Requires complete focus, decision making, critical thinking. If the aircraft is in finals and it becomes pitch dark, it's something which no controller should happen to you. Because look, these are all emergency procedures that you're practicing, but you don't really want it to happen.
What would you want to tell aspirants?
Best branches of the Indian Air Force, most high pressure jobs. The first was air traffic control.
My guest today is Squadron Leader Shradha Sinha, a retired Air Force officer who served for over a decade, heading air traffic control operations and leading training and development in the IAF. After hanging up her uniform, she moved into the corporate world, heading HR and training roles across industries. She's now a certified Posh at Workplace trainer, conducting awareness and internal committee sessions for top corporates across India. Before we dive in, please subscribe to this channel. And for your benefit, the entire audio experience of this podcast is available on Spotify. Enjoy the show. Hi Shradha, thank you for coming by. We'll start with, since you've been an air traffic controller, tell me what is ATC about and where did your training begin?
Hi Julie, thank you for having me here today. Yes, I think it's one of the best phases of my life of having been an air traffic controller with the Indian Air Force. Those 11 years that I served, I really cherish them still. And to start with about air traffic control services. So as most of the people would be aware, that air traffic control services is basically something like traffic management in the air. Okay, so it is providing all sorts of support by way of ground control as well as control in the air, by issuing the necessary instructions, the safety instructions, by ensuring that the aircraft are maintaining the separation minima, basically collision avoidance. So you can say that air traffic services is all about controlling the traffic in the air and the ground in a way that it is efficient, so that there are no delays, and at the same time it is totally risk free. And of course, to do it, and of course there are other things like support, providing every kind of support on ground by way of safety, crash fire tender, and such other things, the safety by way of bird menace. So everything comes under air traffic services. So I would say yes, that it is a very, very essential part of flying operations. Because as they say that yes, people are flying, but then it's we sitting on the ground who are making sure that they fly without any problems and things are all okay.
Okay, and what was your training about, Shradha? If you can throw some light on that.
Yeah, so to start with, I am from the first batch of lady air traffic controllers. And it was of course it was like ages back. I remember the year was 1996, and a lot of lady officers had already been inculcated into the other branches, but ATC FC, that is the fighter controller, ATC FC, we had a combined batch that started for the first time with our batch. So the training was after getting commissioned, the training about ATC, I'm especially speaking about the ATC specialized training, that took place in ATCOTE at Air Force Academy, Dundigal. ATCOTE is basically, air traffic control officers training establishment. And like any other premier training organization, even ATCOTE is one of the premier training institutions, because there they are actually training us how to do controlling based on the ICAO, that is the International Civil Aviation Organization. So based on that, because the procedures for controlling are similar, whether it's military or air force. But yes, in military there are certain special operations which as a controller I'm required to know. So in ATCOTE, they make sure that we learn everything about how you do controlling if I was sitting in a civil ATC, and with special emphasis on operations like like fighter flying. Fighter flying, there is lots which is a little different, because there are certain procedures, their rejoin procedure, their coming and landing procedure may be different than the actual laid down standard procedure. Of course, it is all safe. The safety is something which is always paramount. But so we learn all that at ATCOTE. So I remember the training was excellent. I remember being in that place where our instructors were all CAT-A controllers, very experienced, who gave us a lot of practical as well as theoretical knowledge. And only after you pass all your exams, you clear your practicals and theory, then you're certified a controller, and then you are given a controller's badge. So yes, we were very proud the day we all got a controller's badge. That meant that we are qualified controllers now, and we are ready to take on this immense responsibility.
Okay. You mentioned CAT-A. What is that about?
Okay. So, even in flying, anything which is, so highly specialized, you have categories kind of to define your level of
Professionalism.
Not professional, I would say your level of knowledge and your level of experience. Okay, so it starts with the category C, then category B, then category A. So category C is initial, once you join a base, like when you go on your first posting, and after that you start learning, and then once the supervisor and your SATCO, who is the senior ATC officer, he feels that yes, now you are comfortable, then they will make you fully operational, and then you can appear for CAT-C, which is the basic category. Category A, on the other hand, is something which is really very tough. It is certified by a special board who are stationed at air headquarters, okay? And they come from there. You appear for an exam with them. It is very, very thorough, whether it's theory or it's practical, and generally you will never even get it in the first go. So you have to kind of really, really work hard for it. But once you're certified category A, that means there is nothing about air traffic services that you don't know, that you are ready to take on any responsibility in any base. And also the instructors, they always have to be certified category A. For example, like in flying you have the QFIs, you have to be qualified flying instructors. Similarly in air traffic control, the instructors have to be qualified, they have to be category A. So that is what it is about, the highest level of qualification.
Okay. Shradha, what was your first posting like? Where was your first posting, and tell me something about your first posting.
Okay, so yes, I'm totally going down my memory lane and feeling nostalgic already. My first posting was Chandigarh. After completing my training, I went to Chandigarh, and oh my God, what a base! It was, even now I'm thinking of the first day that I landed up in ATC, and I was literally spellbound to see the kind of activity, the kind of flying. See, till then, during training, yes, they give us a lot of practical experience, but to physically see something like an IL-76 taking off, and then a MiG-21 landing with the reheat on, and then those huge helicopters, the Mi-26, they taking off, they are very, very big. They were I think the biggest ones in the Air Force. So Chandigarh was a mixed base. See, what happens is that most of the bases would be either fighters or helicopters, or transport bases, or maybe just a pure helicopter base. But Chandigarh had all three. It had the MiG-21 squadron, there was the training squadron, then they had the AN-32s, they had the IL-76, they had the Mi-26, plus they had a lot of Cheetah Chetak movement, because Chandi Mandir, which is an army command, was stationed right there. So they had a lot of movement of chopper all across the airfield. And then we had the Punjab government and the Haryana government chief minister's aircraft positioned there. And then of course we had the scheduled aircraft. Chandigarh being a capital, we had those Jet Airways and Sahara and all those planes also landing. So the traffic was amazing, like amazing in the sense that I think for somebody who is going to be learning controlling for the first time, I think it was wonderful. I mean, I just felt that adrenaline rush that yes, this is where I'm going to learn how to do controlling. And in one go, I could learn how to control every kind of aircraft. So yes, this was very exciting for me. And the first posting, and I remember being in ATC almost all the time. Even when I was not on duty, I just wanted to be there so that I could learn faster and faster. I would see my seniors, controlling so well, so aware of everything, and that is what I wanted. I wanted to get fully ops as soon as possible so that I could also start doing the independent controlling. It was great.
I love to see the sparkle in your eyes, looking at you, it looks like you're literally reliving those moments, it is so nice. So recalling it is, so it is still enthusing you is so nice to know. So fear or feeling that women are just, cosmetic value.
No, not at all. In fact, I feel that of course, we are talking about 96 I got commissioned. So around almost 30 years back. And yes, we were the first batch. We were some 20 lady officers commissioned in the air traffic control branch who went to different bases, and everybody, including me, got fully operational within no time, most of them, because I would say that, yes, there is perhaps when you're joining, see, whatever said and done, but it was a male-dominated organization. So, there were, of course, sometimes you did feel that, you had to prove yourself because, all eyes were on you. And, if you just kind of, maybe made one mistake and people will be like, oh, whether it is suitable for her, this particular profession. So, yes, those things are there. But then I would say, when I actually look back, that I had a lot of support. I think the people in the services were also very ready to train you. I remember I had two supervisors. One was a flight lieutenant and one was a squadron leader. And they were so committed to making me fully operational within no time. And I think most of my colleagues, we are still a very, very close a group of friends from the ATC, I think that bonding is also something very, very special, maybe because you have trained together and, worked together. So they all had similar experiences. They had good seniors who taught them very well, and they became operational in no time. And I remember so many instances where, people were so motivating. They would actually give me a compliment on RT. I remember one of the flight commanders of a squadron telling me, I will never forget that. In fact, I still associate with him, so I always tell him that, sir, that was very motivating for me. I remember him telling me, and there were a lot of aircraft flying, and I did a good job. I was alone in the tower, and he was telling me, Shradha, that was really well done. I think that was some excellent bit of controlling. I remember his exact words, because that made me feel so good about myself and, about whatever I was learning. And the best is that it made my superiors also feel very happy.
Absolutely.
Because they felt that, yes, maybe they were also doing the right job. So I would say that while, yes, we had to work harder to maybe get rid of certain stereotypes which people have in their mind, I would say that maybe today they are not there. We've come a long, long way. There are a lot of women in the Air Force now. And I think people have definitely, the mindset has changed a lot in the last 30 years. So at that time, I would say that, yes, sometimes it was tough, but more or less I would say that I had a lot of support. I had very good teams in ATC wherever I went on posting. So I think overall it was very good for me.
Mm-hmm. No, that is also proven from the fact that now increasing number of controllers are women. In fact, yes. So that means that you did a good job, you and your successors, which is why even today, girls are going into controlling and proving themselves. Tell me something about, I've heard a lot, I've seen also that air traffic is all about, it's quite a challenging, nail biting thing sometimes, ever controlling. When you sit in the tower, there's an emergency and the station is put on alert. Did you have any such experience? If you had, why don't you narrate it?
Yes, of course. I was at a fighter base, that to a training base. MiG-21s were the trainee.
Which
aircraft
base
then.
was this?
Chandigarh.
Okay.
That was my first posting, and they were all youngsters like me, all pilot officers and flying officers. That time we used to have the rank pilot officer.
Pilot officer.
So we all, in fact, joined as pilot officers. So they were all youngsters like me, learning to how to fly, training. So, yes, there were, when I think back, there were definitely 3 or 4 incidents which I could definitely call nail biting. And, so one incident which I'm able to recall is, I think I was just maybe a month into ATC. I was not fully operational then, but I used to be very regularly on duty, especially when there was fighter flying on, so that, I could learn. So I remember being there with the DATCO, that is the duty ATC officer, and there is always a senior flight safety officer also sitting in the tower when the fighter flying is on, because they're all trainees. In case of anything, the senior flight safety officer has to tell on RT what to do, what not to do. So always a fighter pilot, a senior flight safety officer who will be sitting in the tower along with you when the fighter flying is on. So we're all sitting in the tower, and it was usual day. Fighters were taking off, transport aircraft were taking off, landing. It was all going fine, routine. And then suddenly a call comes on RT, so-and-so, the call sign of the airbase, so-and-so, I want to rejoin, I'm low on gravy. Low on gravy is low on fuel, okay? And of course, then everybody, there's so much of activity in the tower, and everybody's like, oh my God, there's a trainee who is low on gravy. So now the entire focus is to make that person land first, because it's an emergency situation, and you just don't know what kind of fuel level he's got and whether he'll be able to make it for landing. So you have to give full assistance to the aircraft. I mean, that is what in fact we are there for, to make sure that everybody lands safely. Now, as I told you earlier, that Air Force base at Chandigarh had mixed traffic. So we had, transport aircraft, helicopters. So I still remember that day there was an IL-76 on the final. It was already positioned on final, okay? So for IL-76, they position themselves on final, which is quite a distance. They come, slowly descend and come in for landing. IL-76, okay? Okay, Julie, if you don't mind, before I take on this emergency thing, I will just like to maybe mention just for 1 minute what exactly is a circuit.
Yes,
so that,
please.
People are clear when I'm talking about any emergency.
Please go ahead.
So what happens is that, when you're controlling, depending on the orientation, it could be north orientation, south orientation, depending on your runway orientation, you would know that, runway will always generally have 2 orientations. It will be 180 degrees, like it will be, 2709 or, something like that, all right? Depending on the magnetic, bearing. So, like say example in Chandigarh, we were facing north. So what would happen is that the aircraft will get airborne. Suppose if the aircraft says that I want to do a circuit and landing, I'm just telling you, okay? So that would mean that an aircraft gets airborne, turns left or right, depending on the situation, but generally it would be a left turn if you're facing, because you have to be able to see the aircraft, because it is about aerodrome controlling. Air traffic controlling is about aerodrome controlling as well as approach controlling. Aerodrome controlling is something which should be visual to you all the time, right? So when the aircraft is in the circuit, it should be visual to you. So I'm specifically speaking about Chandigarh right now. So there the circuit pattern was that the aircraft would get airborne, then it would turn left, okay? It was called, okay, now I'm turning downwind. Then there is one position right in the middle, okay, right in, you can say right in front of you, which is called the downwind position. So aircraft will say, now I'm at downwind. Then they will again come like this. Now they have to turn final for the runway. So you get it, this is the runway. He gets airborne like this, does a circuit, a half circuit, and comes and lands. So that is called a circuit, right? Downwind is here, and then when you are turning final, then this curve when you're turning final is called base, turning base. So these are the 2 calls which aircraft gives, so that you can accordingly position your other traffic, right? If an aircraft is turning base, you know that now very closely he's going to be on final, he or she. So then accordingly you have to position your other takeoffs and landing, right? So this is the circuit pattern. So now this IL-76 of mine was he had already called final, and he was on final. Now this aircraft was already coming towards downwind. We could see visual, we were trying to make out, but unfortunately for the trainee, he was not visual with the runway. Okay, so he gave a call that I'm approaching, but I'm still not visual with the runway. I think it was, sometimes the weather just kind of went down, some clouds came in, sometimes the visibility went a little low. So, I don't recall fully, but something like that would have happened because suddenly he gave a call that I'm not visual with the runway. Now that led to even more panic. Now in that situation, generally what happens when an aircraft is an emergency, there's a walkie-talkie, and you generally declare it so that the chief operations officer, who is actually responsible for the entire flying of the station, so the chief operations officer and even the air officer commanding, who is the head of the entire airbase, if they want, they can come to the tower and they can also observe whatever is happening. Coup definitely comes because the flying is under him. That particular day I remember the AOC also came to the tower. So now the tower had the AOC, the coup, the SFSIO, the SATCO took over controls. SATCO, as I mentioned earlier, is like a commanding officer for the ATC, Senior Air Traffic Control Officer. He took over controls.
He took over controls means he asked you how, okay.
I was anyway, learning. There was a DATCO, as I told you, the duty air traffic control officer. So he said, okay, I will, take over because, he was more experienced and he was again a CAT controller. So, he took over controls and it was going on that, okay, where are you? See what you can see to the left, see what you can see to the right, see where they are approaching. So, Julie, we have certain navigation aids also in the tower. So we know the heading of the aircraft. We also know that, okay, the aircraft is now here. The aircraft could be here because, we have the scope which is telling us where the aircraft is.
It is shown in the form of blip.
Yeah.
It's indicated,
now, okay, so, I'll tell you something. Now, things are so advanced. You have got a full radar in the tower. You've got a console which tells you every traffic everywhere with the height, separation, everything it tells you, okay? But that time, it was very basic. In fact, let me tell you that in Chandigarh Air Force, we didn't even have a radar. People will be really surprised to know that because you had fighter flying, you had transport flying, and you didn't have a radar. But we actually didn't. There was a mobile radar which was, just kind of becoming functional. Of course, now there is everything there. But those were the initial years. So I remember it was very tricky, but then it was very, very challenging, So anyway, coming back to this incident, so we were also trying to tell him that what he should fly so that he can see the airfield and all that, but somehow it was not visual. And I remember that finally the aircraft came overhead, and then we could hear him, but he was somehow still not visual with the runway. The IL-76, in the meantime, you must be wondering what happened to that IL-76 which was already on final.
Yes.
And they also used to go to fly to Leh, Ladakh and come back. So it is not that they had so much of endurance on board, and by endurance I mean fuel, that they could also keep waiting. But that time it was an emergency. So we told him, I said, you keep orbiting in your current position, clear of the path. Because suppose if the MiG-21 is landing and it is not able to land and it has to go around, then again it will be on takeoff path. You're getting it? What I'm saying?
Absolutely, right? Got it.
Yeah. So then the takeoff path and the landing path both has to be absolutely clear for that aircraft.
Got it.
So the IL-76, they're all pilots. There is a lot of airmanship. So he understood that yes, this is emergency. So he said, okay, we will keep orbiting till you clear us to again make our approach. So that was okay. That was taken care of. Now, couple of times this aircraft came overhead but could not sight the runway. He said, I'm not able to sight the runway. I'm not able to come in for landing. I'm going around.
So the couple of times means how many times? Twice or twice? Okay, twice now he couldn't sight it.
Now we knew that the gravy would be really, really low. Now everybody was literally sweating. ATC is an air conditioned
I
car.
can imagine.
It is very scary. So in fact, I remember the crew telling the SFSIU, tell him to eject. Because you have to save. But this is also what I've seen in pilots that I think they have this thing that we have to save our aircraft also. So I think he said that I will come in for one more try. And luckily, fortunately, I remember in the third circuit when he was doing, he said, I'm in contact with the runway and I'm coming in for landing. So, that was. In the meantime, our crash fire tenders, our ambulance, see, all the safety services come under ATC, as I mentioned in the beginning. So, they were all ready, like people were ready, like at the wheel to crash fire tenders, the SAR vehicle, the search and rescue vehicle, the ambulance, all ready to just move from one call from the tower. And everybody was like, because we knew that he's very low on fuel.
Yes.
And he still has to complete the
Circuit and landing.
So,
those would have been golden words that sighted the runway. Yes.
It was.
What a sigh of relief. But yes.
Still, I mean, now that I'm telling you, I'm reliving that moment. And I remember that literally that
heart pounding.
Yes,
literally.
It was
yeah.
like that. So anyway, then, he said, runway inside, coming in for landing, and was given landing clearance, landed, went till the end of the runway and switched off.
Oh, he had no
That's
gravy.
it.
That
That's
means,
it.
oh my God.
It was like that.
Oh my God.
anyway,
Just about made it.
Just about. That is what, So I remember it was a big relief for everybody. But yeah, yes, so these are the things which do happen in military airfield. See, I'm talking about 20-25 years back. Things have come a long way since then. So I'm sure procedures have also changed, have become much maybe better. I would say, I would not say that we were, I'm not saying that we were flying with procedures which were not good. But as the technology becomes better,
advances,
the navigation aids become better, other things become better. So, then these things reduce.
Of course.
Like, you can actually this reminds me of another thing. I'll something like we used to call them let downs. Let downs also used to be kind of for fighter aircraft, like they were called QGH let down and US compass let down. So in case one fighter, if the weather packs up and the compass becomes unserviceable, then how do you get the aircraft to land? Why I was telling you this is that today now there are such amazing navigation aids. There is radar, there is a console in the tower. Now you can just vector the aircraft. Even if he says I'm blind, I can't see anything, you can just tell them, okay, come like this, come like that, come like this, and you can get him to land absolutely, without any problems. So things have become so much better, more advanced now. But we had limited support by way of navigation aids then. But I think we did a wonderful job. I would
of
say
course,
for
no doubt.
everybody, I'm talking about the entire ATC fraternity, I'm telling you, that, we all did a wonderful job with whatever we had.
The limited resources.
Because I think we were all very, very committed also,
Absolutely.
And I think there was no scope for anything else. It is such an operational field. It is something which requires complete focus, decision making, critical thinking.
Reflexes have to be.
Absolutely. All your soft skills actually, come into play then. Whatever you've learned, you literally put it there on the table because, that is the only way to.
Shradha, any other nail-biting experience you can recall, if you can tell us?
Yes, I can recall a few. As you started asking me, I started thinking of some of them. So, yes, of course, the fighter incident was one of them. And another one which I recall was something which was kind of unique, which happened in Agra. Now, what happened is that, in Agra, we used to have a lot of exercises with foreign countries. So, the foreign aircraft will come and, they'll be positioned in Agra, and they would also fly with us, and they would be having joint exercise. So, I remember in one such exercise, there was a set of foreign crew. So morning the briefing was given to them regarding the runway and the procedures and everything. And then when it came to controlling, so I remember I was sitting in the tower. It was early morning, so there were just 2-3 aircraft. And then we got a message from the delegation that they would like to do one circuit and landing. I've already explained what is circuit and landing. So Agra, I will just take 30 seconds to tell you that Agra had one main runway like any other place, and it had a cross runway like this. Okay, that was a short runway which was basically used for helicopter operations and all that. Okay, because it is very difficult to man 2 runways, because that can lead to very unsafe situations. So now I remember that the aircraft lined up, their aircraft lined up, and it got airborne, and then it gave me a call turning downwind. As I told you, turning downwind is basically he was joining the circuit and he wanted to come and do some circuits, just do a touch and go and circuits. So I gave a call turning downwind. Right behind that aircraft, we had our own Air Force AN-32. So the moment he took off, I gave AN32 line up. Line up means that I am giving him line up so that now that aircraft is ready for takeoff. The moment that aircraft reported turning downwind, I knew the takeoff path is clear and I gave takeoff to this AN32. Now this AN32 started rolling. He said, okay, cleared for takeoff, he acknowledged, and he started rolling for takeoff. Now he is, rolling like this. Now that is the time when I cannot do any RT because it becomes very unsafe for the aircraft. Because they have so many procedures, they are doing internal RT among themselves, rotate and this and that, speed and this, that. So I cannot say anything when there is a takeoff and final stage of landing happening. That time it has to be literally RT should be silent. Now this aircraft, I don't know, maybe because they were foreigners, they were not still familiar with our area, what happened I don't know, but I suddenly saw, and the airman on watch with me also saw, that he is turning finals for that cross runway. Now imagine the situation. This is the main runway. I have AN32 rolling like this. This foreign aircraft was supposed to do a circuit and come and land here. But now he comes for landing for the short runway, which is cutting across my main runway. Now that was a situation I still remember. I got so nervous, but there was nothing much at that point I could do because this one was taking off. If I had said something, then it could have led to a disastrous situation. So I just waited that, that person does not descend too much and this one is safely a little airborne, and then I immediately gave a call to that person. You have turned finals for the wrong runway. Please maintain height, go around immediately, aircraft on takeoff path, I remember. And of course, immediately he heard and he maintained height and went round. But still, it was a situation like this, AN32 going like this and this aircraft coming on top of it. So that is something which, after that, of course, it was taken up because that shouldn't have happened at all. So it was taken up, then, they were given special briefing. Then the briefing was revised to making it more exact. Then, there were other procedures revised that such a potential disaster situation does not happen ever again.
Shradha, how is this military ATC, air traffic control, controlling different from civil air traffic controlling? What are the challenges which are different? How is it different?
So, the same thing. As I mentioned earlier, that military flying has certain things which are different. Like, for example, even for not just fighter flying, even for transport flying, when they have training flying, they have something like, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 1. So basically this is giving practice to the new pilots and for themselves, you would have heard of something called AEB.
Yes.
Anybody who's been in Air Force has to hear about AEB, which is the Aircrew Examination Board, which visit every flying station once a year. It is mandatory. And they test all the pilots there, whether it's written as well as for flying. Now, the practice for that starts well in advance, obviously. So there is a lot of these instructional sorties which are flown. Now, in that you have something like, a simple something like touch and go.
Okay.
That means that you do a circuit, you touch and then you take off. You touch and you take off. Okay. So touch and go is a part of the training because, they are learning circuit flying. So they are not landing and switching off every time. They are just touching the wheels and they are immediately, taking off. Similarly, they have low level flying. By low level flying, I want to tell you something that in Agra, you have a dropping zone, dropping zone. It is a para commando base. So, which is very close to the approach path of one of the runways.
Okay.
The main runway. So, there the aircraft fly very, very low because they have to drop the people who have to go down to the dropping zone. So, the aircraft is flying very, very low. So, basically, they have to have practice in all those low level flyings. This is one of the things. Otherwise, also low level flying has a lot of other, there are a lot of other things also which you require to know when you're doing low level flying. So, but that is a part of your operational preparedness. So they do that. Then I already told you circuits, touch and go, low level flying. And there are so many such exercises that they have to do and learn. So these things don't happen in civil.
Correct.
But yeah.
And the type of aircraft, because fighters, it flies in a supersonic pace.
Yeah.
And
so coming to that. So this is about the transport flying. I was telling you that Fighter controlling is separately, I mean, it is different altogether. You know, they have so many different, you can say, configurations to fly. Like I remember they used to do a four aircraft tactical formation, a 4 aircraft low level formation, you know, and you imagine you're controlling, you have one aircraft turning base, you have one aircraft who is saying that I'm on final, and then suddenly you get a call. This is so and so 4 aircraft ready for rejoin. And now you're like 4 aircraft, you have to make them rejoin, and you know that they've done an exercise for maybe about 45 minutes or so, and now they're coming for rejoin, so they are low on gravy. It is an understood thing that they are low on fuel, so you have to give them priority landing. Now you have to make 4 aircraft land on priority. You already have 2-3 aircraft in circuit, but that is what. So these things you will never have at a civil ATC.
Absolutely.
This is only specially at Airfield. So that's why I told you that even in ATCOTE, when they teach us, when they train us, they do it specially. You know, ICAO we have to know, because you know we are handling scheduled aircraft almost at every base now. A lot of ATCs are under Air Force, a lot of ATCs are under civil. Like for example, ATC in Chandigarh was under Air Force, okay? But ATC in Delhi is under civil, ATC in Mumbai is under civil. Here in Bangalore it is under civil. Generally you will always have, if you have a lot of Air Force flying, you will have some person on deputation from the Air Force, a controller, who will be deputed to one of the civil ATCs. Okay?
For liaison.
Yes, for liaison and for, you know, because again, you know, some special procedures which, you know, the civil controller will not know of. Okay, if that is so, that for that duration they will be attached if there is a fly past or something being planned, you know, things like that. But otherwise, yes, there are, I would say that military controlling is different in a lot of ways, and it is more nail biting.
Yeah, it's something like playing video game, you know, and live video game. I can imagine that.
I remember once it just so happened, like, you know, generally we would be 2 controllers in tower, so things were very comfortable. We have the shift duties in ATC, you know. So because you have night flying, you have early morning flying, you have afternoon flying, so generally you have shift duties, so that everybody gets adequate rest, and as well as, you know, the operations go on seamlessly without any problem. I still remember that one controller had to go somewhere for half an hour, and there are I think 2 or 3 aircraft in the air, and I was like very comfortable, you know, 3-4 aircraft is nothing. And in the next 1 hour, it just happened that there was some build up from here, from there, somebody was diverting, some Cheetah Chetak, the helicopter movement started, and I think suddenly I had some 15 aircraft.
Overwhelmed.
And I was like, what the hell? But, you know, see, that is what happens. When your seniors have trained you so thoroughly. I was a categorized controller by then. I had got my initial category C after becoming fully ops. So yes, initially it was like, oh my god, I have to do it on my own. But then, you know, something kicks in, you're like, you have to do it, and you have to do it perfectly. And, you know, the learnings are such from your instructors, starting from instructors at ATCOTE to your seniors who have taught you so well, you know you can do a good job. And I remember that, yes, when the final aircraft landed, it was like, you know, oh my god, what a sigh of relief. But yeah, it felt good. It feels good. Air traffic controlling is very satisfying.
Satisfying, yes.
I felt good at the end of the day. When I handed over the shift, I went back a happy person. Yes, today was good. I did a good job.
Great. Yeah. In your experience, did you have any, you know, near miss cases? Did you have any such?
Yes, there were.
Oh my God, tell us about that, Shradha.
Okay, so, you know, it was like, okay, so I remember one odd incident now. I think I was on duty and I had another controller with me on duty, and there was this IL-76 which was going to Delhi from Chandigarh, and there was one Avro which was coming from Chandigarh to Delhi. The IL-76 was going. It was our base IL-76. IL-76 is the Gajraj which I mentioned, which was positioned at Chandigarh. That huge, beautiful aircraft.
Yes.
One of my favorite aircraft. And the Avro was inbound from Delhi to Chandigarh.
Okay.
Now, Julie, you know, there are certain procedures where, you know, we ask the aircraft that if you have to, as I mentioned in the beginning, that collision avoidance is one of the most important functions of air traffic control. And there are laid down processes for it. Like, there are very, very standard processes which you follow as per ICAO. There is no military controlling here. The separation minimas and all have to be ensured as per your manual. Okay, it has to be
international
very
standards. Yes.
Absolutely. Like, minimum 1,000 feet separation. Okay, when you are crossing each other, minimum, at particular level, then there is 2,000 feet also. Then, there are certain navigation aids like VOR, DME. So either on that you have, some degrees of separation, some kilometers of separation. So, I will not go into the technical part, but so there are these laid down minimas which you have to ensure. Okay. Now, what happens is that only case in which you can make an exception is, suppose if two aircraft have reported visually crossing each other.
Okay.
Then, that, okay, they have reported, okay, traffic in sight, I am visually crossing so and so. So
Okay.
now you know that they are well clear of each other. So then you can give somebody a climb or descent, because till then you cannot give anybody climbing or descent through somebody's level, right? Because you don't know exact position, and it's laid down that only after so and so time or this much of degrees or this much of kilometers you can give anybody climb through each other's level, so that they are totally separated and there is absolutely no cause for even coming close. Okay, so I remember that this IL-76 was going and the Avro was inbound, and one of the aircraft, as far as I remember, it was the Avro. I think their calculation of ETA, ETA is the expected time of arrival, was quite out. Like 2 minutes, 3 minutes out or something, but it was almost, I think, 7-8 minutes out. And there was some problem with the RT or something. Now see, it's long back, I don't recall fully, but I remember that the controller on duty, I was also in the tower, checked the ETA. And then the IL-76 gave a call that I'm already at so-and-so level. I think the other aircraft is pretty far out right now. So, permission to climb. And the RT was getting jammed also, there was something happening. So, the controller said, okay, fine. You immediately climb to so-and-so level. And as he was climbing, the Avro gives a call. I can see the IL climbing through my level. Okay. So, that means they were very close to see him climbing through his level. Okay. So, then anyway it happened. Then the aircraft landed. Then the pilot came to the ATC and spoke to us, because, so you see, that is one thing good then, that, these things, once in a while, these things happen, okay? And yes, it was not standard, but it was, something like you can say that, yes, they also erred on their ETA. And I think that all that jamming and all which is happening, they were trying to pass the revised ETA, but it was not
getting communicated, yes.
Communication was, there was something, this thing. So it was lesson learned for both of us,
Okay.
that you should always maintain. So the pilot came to the tower and we had a talk. He said that the aircraft was given climb through our level. So we told him that so this was your ETA was out by almost 7-8 minutes. We were trying to give you the revised ETA because we got direct routing from some place, so we saved up on that time. So we were trying, so the transmission was not clear. So anyway, we talked it out, and of course, what I'm trying to tell you is that so it was almost like a near miss only, right? Because you cannot give any aircraft climb through another aircraft.
Absolutely.
It is not done. It happened, but it was sorted out very nicely. Everybody spoke about it, and it was like a lesson learned that you should not, you should just follow the procedure.
Absolutely.
What would have happened if another 5 minutes, if the IL had waited, if we had waited to tell the IL, okay, you're clear to climb, nothing would have happened, right? It wouldn't have delayed anybody. So why honestly, do something which is not standard? So see, those are the learnings. Okay, I would say that it was still, the conditions were visual and we knew that it is not very unsafe, but such things could maybe sometime lead to something which could have been more unsafe. So one has to be very, very clear that the procedures have to be followed. And of course, the airmanship is so good in the Air Force that, even when the IL pilot came back, he came over to the tower and, talked about, okay, what could have gone wrong. So, you kind of really discuss it out so that you never ever make a mistake again. Otherwise, near misses, air misses do happen once in a while.
Yes.
Sometimes the civil aircraft would report with a fighter. I can see a fighter. So you have to tell that person, don't worry. we are, in touch.
We are
and
in control.
It's all safe, so you don't have to worry. So those things kept happening, but it was all safe, nothing to worry about.
That's when you said follow the rules.
Yeah.
And this is what, a cadet is also taught at the training, that just follow the rules. The rules have been researched, time tested, and it's there for a purpose. So it's right from the induction of a cadet at training stage and to the last day as an officer, we are told to follow rules. Do not defy it. And there is a logic behind it, and it's always safe to follow it.
Absolutely. So, you have to do that. Like, see, that day, now today you have a scope in the tower. Whether ETA is out or not, it doesn't matter. You can see, the blips are there for you to see which aircraft is. So there is absolutely no problem. Today things are so advanced. That time things were not. And then sometimes you would have a feeling, okay, I think this should be okay. But yes, I feel now looking back, you also learn that, as you said, that procedure should always be followed. And in flying, in aviation, in controlling,
there's no scope for it.
There is no scope for it. It has to be 100%
precise
or more, but nothing less. So
and this particular case which you just narrated, I'm sure it would have become a case study, and thereafter there would have been a research how to avoid such thing, and they would have thoroughly researched. So, and these mistakes,
happen.
yes,
these
so that
did happen.
do not recur.
When I was in the tower, so I remember this. But these things did happen once in a while. But yes, it was taken up, it was discussed so that it does not happen again.
Absolutely.
One. And then, as I told you that what happens is, that if it was 2 civil aircraft, let me tell you, then we would have anyway cross visually or after some time. With military aircraft, you tended to be a little, kind of more accommodating because, you anyway were doing all sorts of special operations with them day in and day out. So if I okay, it is my Air Force average, my Air Force IL, and they would be separated because the ETA is so out, and okay, you said okay, climb, okay. In civil aircraft, this thing you will anyway not do it, okay. But then, even with them, I think even with your own aircraft, even though you have been trained for whatever, special military operations and so on and so forth, but you should always stick to the procedures which are laid down.
Okay.
So that you don't go wrong.
Absolutely.
You can't go wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. What is the role of a bird hazard control team in Air Force, Shradha? We've heard of, I'm sure those who are watching us also, they say, bird incidents. They would have heard it.
Yes.
And if there is any such bird incident, there's something which is even brought out in flight safety magazines for everyone's awareness. Can you tell us a little about that?
Okay, so see, bird menace is something which is real, and it's like, it really affects the flying. There is no doubt about that. That is why you have all these bird hazard control teams. You have the runway controller positioned at both sides of the runway, who is constantly looking out for bird activity and, firing those flares, as you would be aware, to, make sure that the birds are not there in the takeoff and the approach path. Again, Julie, I would say that, in these 20 years, I'm sure things have become way better. You've got better teams. There is a lot of liaising with especially the, administration branch.
Yes.
For this, bird menace thing. But I, do recall, something like I initially, before coming to Chandigarh, I was in Hindon for a while doing some on-job training. And I still remember that when I went there, I was told that just a couple of weeks back, 2 full fighter squadrons, MiG-27 squadrons, had literally overnight ferried out of Hindon and gone to Kalaikonda. And the reason was because the airfield was made in such a way that at the on the takeoff path, there was a butchery and I think a tannery. And those are the 2 places which, oh my God, the bird activity, it gives rise to too much of bird activity.
Yes.
So I still recall that there were back-to-back couple of ejections. Luckily, the pilot was safe, but there were 2 ejections because the moment the aircraft took off, it had a bird hit. It happened, then again it happened, and then it was a call taken at the highest level that you cannot afford to have this, and then they were literally moved out within no time. I mean, I remember when I was going for my training, I was told there are 2 fighter squadrons there, so we'll get to do a lot of controlling, and then by the time I reached, the squadrons have gone. So it was like that, But it was important, it was necessary for them to move out because there was too much of bird activity. Sitting in the tower, we could see the birds flying, all vultures and all those birds flying on the takeoff path. So yes, it was definitely a big menace. I think now they are ensuring that the airfield, the new airfield which are coming up, and also there are no butcheries and tanneries in the takeoff path and the landing
Correct.
path. I think even you would be
Yes,
aware
yes. And
that-
orders come directly. In
Yes.
fact, there cannot be, now they do not tolerate any violation.
Absolutely.
And the administration is in liaison with civil administration
Yes.
to ensure that the airfield is free, airfield and its surrounding areas follow the strictest of the protocol which is laid.
It has to be, because
Absolutely.
it is
It's a
such
cost
menace
of
to flying. The
life
engines
and
are-
property.
Of course, life, property, everything. The one bird gets sucked into the engine. You may be able to come and do a safe landing, maybe, but the engine is written off. That is like crores and crores of
Yes.
money.
So exchequers.
So yes, the bird menace was definitely there, and that is why it came under ATC, because obviously when you're giving clearance for an aircraft to land or take off, you have to make sure that there are no birds, and it was like constant, in touch with the runway controller, check bird activity, check this thing. Sometimes if we felt that it was too much of bird activity, you have to tell the aircraft to orbit present position and descend and come for a landing only when the birds were clear. So we had to do all that, and it was not easy, but it had to be done. So that is something which definitely it's good that it has really been taken care of now. Yeah.
And tell me, Shradha, how is air traffic controlling in the night and daytime different? Is it different first? And if it is different, what is the difference?
It is different.
Okay.
And I will tell you about that. And then, as we have been talking, so, I've been going back, thinking of things. So there are some more interesting incidents which
Okay.
I remember during my control.
Sure.
So I would like to speak about
Oh,
that
yeah,
also.
sure.
But first we will address, what
Yes.
you've asked me now. So night flying was again very interesting, I'm just, my God, Julie, you've made me so nostalgic now. It's almost as if I'm sitting in the tower and doing the controlling right now. So night flying, see, the difference was that in our time again, there was something called goosenecks, which is the emergency lighting system. That was a drill in itself. You won't believe it. I think once in every 15 days, we used to carry out a drill where the people used to go on cycles, that is the airmen, our team, ATC had, of course, officers and the airmen. In every shift, there would be, some X number of airmen who would man your crash fire tender, your ambulance, and, available for any kind of emergency services. So, if we would have a drill that, okay, the lighting failure, now you have to immediately go and light up the airfield. Okay, can you imagine that if the aircraft is on finals and it becomes pitch dark, what will happen? It happened to me once.
Okay.
I still remember. Okay, I'll talk about it after this. So there would be full drill. They would go immediately. The goosenecks would be like, imagine a water can. Okay, a watering can. Okay, with a like a kettle and a watering can with this neck coming out.
Spout.
Yeah, a spout, and the wick coming out from under that. So it was like a big बत्ती you can say, जो हम बत्ती जलाते हैं, तो वो एक बड़ी सी बत्ती उस spout में से ऐसे निकल रही है, and then you are lighting it. It's dipped in kerosene, of course, and so what would happen is that you light it in, I think the time given was some 3 or 4 minutes. And in that, you had to light up the entire runway.
Okay.
Because the aircraft can't wait. No, they already, if he's saying that I'm on final, and then the light goes off, then how much time will he wait in the air to land? Okay. And so that would be a full drill we would carry out. And yes, I think we were quite competent there, I would say, because they knew exactly how to rush and do the needful. And then it happened to me. It's something which no controller should happen to you.
Okay.
Because look, these are all emergency procedures that you're practicing, but you don't really want it to happen. And I remember I was in tower and all going well. There was one aircraft which was landing. This again happened in Chandigarh itself. And it was a big aircraft. I think it was an AN-32 aircraft. And it gave a call. Okay, I'm turning finals. And the power goes off.
Oh my God.
And it's pitch dark. It's pitch dark everywhere. And then we immediately give a call, okay, rush. And then I tell the AN-32, okay, you have to continue orbiting in your present position because, we are doing the emergency lighting. And then there'll be those 7-8 cycles and men, running in all directions and, fatafat lighting with that mashal thing they would carry. And then jaldi, wo pura light karke, they would make it ready. So yes, it worked. It's almost like, sometimes when these emergencies happen, that your procedures are working.
Correct.
That is also kind of,
one way of checking it.
One way of checking it. So it worked. I remember they did it in record time. I mean, hats off to the men. They were very competent. I mean, it was great actually working with them. ATC, the best is, you work as a team.
Of course.
That itself is so wonderful, Everybody works with you. So yes, they did it in record time. The M32 landed safely, so all was good. Then again, Julie, I have to tell you that this is 20 years back.
Yeah.
Today they have a very good system, which you would be aware, MAFI. Okay. So, that means that basically it is airfield lighting system in which they have catered for one emergency light, I think after every 3 lights, if I'm not wrong. So I think every 3rd or 4th light is an emergency light. So what happens, even if the lights go off, you still have bare minimum illumination for the aircraft to carry out a landing or a takeoff. Landing basically, you need it more than your landing. So because, you have that limited light, obviously you can imagine if even a very 4th light for the entire stretch of runway is an emergency light, then both the sides, there is illumination that, this can be taken care of till, the standby and the mains come back on. So yes, night flying was different that way. Then night flying, of course, there were a lot of things, you could not visually see the aircraft. I did tell you that air traffic control, aerodrome controlling is basically a lot about visual controlling. So, of course, so the challenges were more during night flying. But then the thrill was also more.
Of course.
We used to be the primary diversion for Ambala, which was a fighter base. So I remember they used to, so we used to keep having night flying. We would have all these Jaguars and MiG-21s and all these aircraft constantly coming and, doing their practice circuits at Chandigarh. Good, I mean, I won't say fun, but it was good. I mean, it was great actually. Learning with, this environment, it was good. So yeah.
Yes. But in ATC, besides controlling, your responsibility is also that of the runway. Yes. So tell us a little bit about that. Though there are dedicated professionals for everything, like for arrestor barrier, there is someone there for runway markings. You would be liaising with the works officer, etc. But the entire runway is your responsibility. You have to call it out in case there is anything which is missing or things of that sort. Tell me something about that so that our viewers know that if somebody is aspiring to take on this responsibility, which is a very thrilling one, what all does it encompass? This is what I would want them to know,
Okay. Yeah, so see, as you said rightly, runway in fact is the first part of our duty starting. As a DATCO, which is the Duty Air Traffic Control Officer, when I go on duty, before I go to the tower on top, which is like 3-4 stories up, I sit in my SAR vehicle, which is the search and rescue vehicle, and I do the entire runway inspection. Then only I go to the tower. So what do I check? I check for any FODs, which is foreign object damage. Okay.
There is an FOD parade also, Shradha, every day in the morning.
Absolutely. Yes. FOD parade is carried out. After that, the runway inspection is carried out. FOD parade is basically a number of airmen walking from one end of the runway to the other, so that nobody misses anything.
Visually spotting thing.
That, because any FOD can lead to something like a tire burst and anything else, and that is like very, very unsafe for the aircraft. So yes, the morning would start sometimes as early as 3:30 in the morning, and I remember it would be like going to the tower, first thing sitting in the vehicle, carrying out the runway inspection at that first light. The moment there is the first light, because night, of course, you can't really see it much, but the moment there is the first light, you will go do the entire runway inspection, because by 5 o'clock the first aircraft would be getting airborne for especially your Leh, Thois, all these areas, the forward area with the full army load. So you would do that, then there will be an FOD parade. Then we would call out, as you said, that if we saw that any runway was even some problem somewhere, maybe a little bit of damage or some kind of a rough surface or anything like that, we would definitely inform the administrative section immediately. the CADMO, and then they would do their own inspection, and they would make sure that the work is done, because that's priority. So yes,
runway markings, the runway lights,
there would be work taken on. There would be, so there was a lot of licensing required, because suppose the runway markings, see, over time they start fading. So now when you have to repaint them, you have to redo the runway resurfacing, painting. Then you need to have those timings where you cannot permit any aircraft to land between so and so time. Then when the runway repair work is going on, sometimes you have to shift the aircraft out to some other base, so that that can take time. All that comes under ATC, of course in coordination with the administrative branch. And so to answer your question, Julie, what all does it encompass? So ATC is not just about going to the tower and doing controlling, because that is of course the best part of ATC. But yes, the other things like seeing the operational preparedness of your airmen by way of firefighting, that's a drill in itself. You simulate the conditions, you simulate an aircraft on fire, and then you ring the bell and you see what is the response time taken for your crash fire tender to reach that site and to douse the fire out and things like that, and evacuate. They're supposed to evacuate the pilot. So all those drills are carried out. That is all a part of ATC services. And then the coordination, you've got something like a FCC, which is right below you, okay? And they are responsible for, suppose you are going for a very long flight, a long route, international, national. So they are the ones who will, coordinate everything for you, and they will, give you all the necessary clearances and all those. So yes, pretty much all this comes under the air traffic control, birds, of course, all these things.
And how is air traffic controlling in the tower different from GCA controlling?
See, radar controlling is more specialized. You have to specially do a radar course. Again, it happens in ATCOTE, where you go for the radar course.
In which year of your service? Generally, in which time?
I'm not radar qualified, because I left after 11 years. So I did not go for the radar course. But there were some coursemates of mine who could go for it. And I was basically, my second posting when I went to Agra was more of a transport base, where radar controlling was not, there was a mobile radar squadron there, but it was not one of those mandatory things which you require at a fighter base. So then I did not go for the radar course, but there were coursemates of mine who were specially operating in the fighter bases who went for the radar course. So there they basically tell you how to make an aircraft land safely without any visuals. It is, you're sitting in a radar which is actually
through the help of scope.
Only on the scope you get an aircraft to come and do a 0-0 landing. So from the 0-0 landing, I'm reminded of one more incident. So if it's okay with you, I will just tell you about it. So in Chandigarh, during the fighter flying days, so as I was telling you that, there are certain let down procedures. Okay. Now, basically we are given a lot of practice of that tomorrow, if the weather packs up, or if an aircraft instrument malfunctions, I'm talking only about fighter aircraft here, then you are able to guide them safely to the runway, right? Now this happened, one of the MiG-21s had got airborne, and I think I was in tower, and of course I had one more person, but I was the one who was on duty on that channel. And then suddenly he gives a call that requesting rejoin, my compass is malfunctioning and I'm in between some clouds, so my visual is also limited. Okay, then it's like, from sitting comfortably, you suddenly charge up, because now that you have to guide this aircraft to safety. Now your US compass procedure kicks in. So US compass is a procedure where, with the help of the navigation aid that you have in your tower, which is giving you a kind of direction of the aircraft, that okay, the aircraft could be here or there. Okay, so with the help of that, you get the aircraft safely to sight the airfield, so that after that the aircraft can come and land safely. So I started my US compass procedure, and I was just hoping that I get him to a spot where he can say, okay, I'm visual with the runway, now I will align myself and come and land. So I was aiming for that, so I kept doing my bit, I was quite comfortable with US compass because I had already been tested by the CAT board. In fact, I would like to just say that I got my CAT C in April, and then by December I was already a category B controller also, since it interested me. So my SATCO said you must go for CAT B, and luckily the board certified me CAT B controller, and they told me that I was one of the youngest CAT B controllers. So yes, it was very motivating also. So I was guiding him. I was very confident, but yes, I was guiding him. I think the first time it was a US Compass actual emergency. And then suddenly I get a call. Thank you so much. 00 aligned to the center line.
Oh.
So that was like, those calls you never forget. Because I felt so happy. My aim was to get him to side the runway. And he's telling me I'm aligned to the center line of the runway. I mean, it couldn't be better than that. So yes, those things gave you the thrill. They made you very happy. It was very motivating. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to, say this
Yes.
because you asked me that particular thing. So yes, it was radar. Of course, has got more precision-based equipment. So they vector the aircraft straight away onto the center line. So that is their.
That's why I wanted you to bring that aspect so that those who are watching us should know that controlling is also there.
Oh yes.
Yes.
And as an ATC officer, you will definitely go and do the radar course. You will get, again, that also will be, you will get categorized on that. In fact, I want to mention one more thing here, that the first lady CAT-A controller was from my own course.
Okay.
Yes. And so, yes, I mean, it is not easy, but yes, I mean, anybody who works hard and is really motivated towards controlling can definitely get it.
Yeah. Shradha, tell me about your last day in the service. How was your experience on RT? How was it? I don't intend to make you emotional, but
Yeah, I think I'm already pretty nostalgic. So yeah, I mean, okay, let me think. Okay, so RT was always special in the services, I would say. I still remember that I had fallen ill and I was missing for about 4 weeks. I was on sick leave, and I still remember the day I went back and I gave my first call on RT. I got so many welcome back, we missed you, and it's so nice to have you back on RT, and it makes you feel so happy that people are actually maybe waiting for you to come back. They've actually missed you. So yes, it's a good feeling. And I still remember that my last day, and I did the ATC briefing. And my SATCO conveyed to the station that today will be her last day on RT because after that I hang up my uniform. So I remember that people were so nice. They gave me a lot of compliments, lot of good wishes on RT.
Oh.
That it was great having you with us, and we hope that the other controllers also come. They can also do what you did for us. And it was very comfortable when we knew that you are on RT and we are flying. It was a comfort level knowing that you are sitting there and that we will land safely.
yes.
So things like that. I mean, it's good. I think a lot of people maybe went out of the way to make me feel good, and I'm definitely grateful for that. I'm actually very grateful for the 11 years that I had in Air Force. I think all in all, it was wonderful innings and a lot of learnings, and pretty much a very happy time for me, I would say.
Good to know that. Yes. What would you want to tell aspirants who are watching this about air traffic controlling? Would you want to say something to them? I'm sure they're waiting for some pearls of wisdom from you.
So I would say that, I think it is one of the best branches of the Indian Air Force. And I know, when you talk of Air Force, the first thing which comes to your mind is flying. Okay, that is the general psychology that, okay, Indian Air Force is about flying. And yes, definitely it is, that is what we are preparing for, flying role and, the flying exercise. But I would say that air traffic controlling is also something which gives you so much of happiness, so much of satisfaction. You are directly connected to the flying operations, Sometimes you may not be able to fly, your qualifications or your mindset, or you may, want to be associated with the operation, but you may not be able to fly. But then air traffic control is no less. That is what I feel. I feel it is just great to be in tower and being in control of everything. In fact, Julie, I want to mention that there was a study once, I don't know where it is now, if I have it somewhere stored, which said that the most high pressure jobs, the first was air traffic control, followed by the jet fighter pilots.
Look at that.
So yes, I would say it has a lot of pressure. The person who's flying is flying one aircraft. You are controlling many more together, okay? But yes, there is a lot of pressure. But if you are confident of your own self, your own procedures, your own professionalism, your own learnings, experience, then I think you can do a great job. And I would say it teaches you lots. It teaches you critical thinking skills. It teaches you decision making. But it kind of fine tunes all these skills in you. So I would say that it helps you. It helps you not only become professionally very good, but I think even as a person, it kind of gives you those skills which actually, I would say the life management skills is something which an air traffic control profession, it teaches you really well. So to the aspirants, I would like to say that it's great. It's a great branch. It's a wonderful job, and you get a lot of adrenaline rush. It is something that you look forward to when you wake up in the morning. Though you're going on duty very early, but you are looking forward
to it.
And I think that is the most important thing when you go for work.
Yes.
You should look forward to where you're going.
Yeah.
The team is great. People work together. There is a lot of cohesion. There is a lot of camaraderie, and you have a lot of good times together. You celebrate each other's victories. Professionalism. If somebody gets a category, then you all celebrate it as a team together. With the officers and the airmen. I think it's a wonderful branch. I would just like to say this.
Thank you so much, Shradha, for coming by, for explaining controlling in such simple terms. I'm sure those who are watching it would be inspired. My intent of doing this podcast is to explain to people, because, when I was a young girl, I did not know anything about Air Force. I didn't know what I was signing up for. But through this, what I'm trying to tell them is that there is so much about Air Force than just flying. And ATC makes a huge part of it. Thank you, Shradha. Dear viewers, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you have any questions on controlling, please drop it in the comment section, and Shradha and I will take it from there. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much.